Commander Jai-Ho Park's reflection stared back at him from the vast window of United Earth Defense Headquarters. His weathered face showed the strain of sleepless nights as he watched the holographic displays tracking multiple Council vessels entering the solar system. The massive ships moved with deliberate precision, their energy signatures pulsing like heartbeats against the black canvas of space. The command center hummed with quiet tension. Officers moved between stations with practiced efficiency, but their usual casual chatter had died away. Everyone felt the weight of the moment. These weren't the routine patrols or diplomatic vessels they were used to seeing. The Council ship's formation spoke of military intent. Captain Hannah Kim approached, her tablet displaying real-time data streams. She had served as Jai-Ho's second-in-command for 5 years, and he had never seen her typically composed features so troubled. "Commander, we're receiving a priority transmission from the Council flagship." Jai-Ho nodded, squaring his shoulders. "Put it through to my private terminal." The holographic display shimmered to life, revealing the stern features of High Counselor Dax. The alien's scaled skin reflected the light of distant stars, 4 eyes blinking in their characteristic pattern. "Commander Park, the Galactic Council has reached a unanimous decision regarding Earth's status in the greater community." "We are a sovereign member world," Jai-Ho replied evenly. "Any decisions affecting Earth require our representatives' presence and vote." "This is not a negotiation, Commander." Dax's voice carried the weight of centuries. "Earth's rapid technological advancement and military buildup have become a concern. The Council demands complete surrender of all military capabilities. Your forces will be disbanded, and your weapons decommissioned under our supervision." Hannah's hands tightened on her tablet. She had pulled up tactical displays showing the true scope of the Council fleet. Their ships had taken position at key strategic points throughout the solar system. "For peaceful integration, of course," Dax continued. "Earth's unique resources and biological diversity make it too valuable to risk destabilization." Jai-Ho's eyes narrowed at the pause. 5 years of diplomatic service had taught him to read between lines. "And if we decline, then Earth will face complete isolation. No trade, no cultural exchange, no technological sharing. The Council will establish a quarantine perimeter for everyone's safety." The transmission ended, leaving the command center in heavy silence. Hannah stepped closer, lowering her voice. "Commander, deep space sensors are picking up something concerning. There are massive ships hiding in Jupiter's shadow, resource harvesting vessels, the kind used to strip mine entire planets." Jai-Ho had served in Earth's defense forces for 30 years. He had watched humanity take its first steps into the galactic community, seen the wonder and hope in people's eyes as they realized they weren't alone in the universe. But he had also seen the way some Council species looked at Earth, not as equals, but as a resource to be managed. "They never intended to let us keep our independence," he said quietly. "All those treaties, those technology exchanges, they were studying us, measuring us." "What do we do?" Hannah asked. "Our ships are generations behind theirs. Even with our full fleet deployed, we couldn't hope to match their firepower." Jai-Ho walked to another display, bringing up Earth's defensive grid. Modern satellites and stations formed a protective web around the planet, impressive by human standards, but primitive compared to Council technology. But something tugged at his memory, a report that had crossed his desk years ago. "Contact Dr. Sunmi Lee at the Underwater Archaeological Institute," he ordered. "Priority channel, highest clearance." Hannah blinked in surprise. The archaeologist. "Sir, with all respect, we need military solutions right now. Dr. Lee has been studying something in the Pacific trenches for the past decade, something that predates known human civilization." Jai-Ho's eyes remained fixed on the tactical display. Her last report mentioned energy signatures unlike anything we've seen before. "The Council denied our requests for help analyzing them. You think they knew something we didn't? I think it's time we found out." Jai-Ho turned to address the command center. "Alert all stations. Full defensive posture. I want every ship and satellite we have ready to move on my command, and get me a secure line to the President." As officers rushed to comply, Jai-Ho studied the Council ships looming in Earth's sky. They thought they had humanity cornered, helpless. But Earth had survived countless disasters, ice ages, and mass extinctions. Their planet had secrets even they didn't fully understand yet. Hana worked at her console, establishing the secure connection to Dr. Lee's facility. "Sir, what exactly are we looking for in those underwater ruins?" Jai-Ho watched as more Council ships emerged from faster-than-light travel, taking up strategic positions. "Hope, Captain, and maybe something more." His hand tightened on the command rail. "They think they can simply demand our surrender, strip our world of its resources. But humanity has faced extinction before. We're still here." The command center continued its controlled frenzy of activity as humanity prepared for what might be its greatest challenge. But Jai-Ho felt an odd calm settle over him. The Council had made a critical mistake. They had threatened not just Earth's military or government, but humanity's very existence. And if there was one thing history had proven, it was that humanity was at its most dangerous when backed into a corner. Whatever Dr. Lee had found sleeping in Earth's oceans might just change the balance of power in ways the Council never expected. As if sensing his thoughts, the Council ships adjusted their formation, weapon ports clearly visible. They were ready for resistance, ready to enforce their demands with overwhelming force. But they didn't know what Jai-Ho was beginning to suspect, that Earth had been protecting far more than just its current civilization. "Get me Dr. Lee," he ordered. "It's time to wake up some old friends." Dr. Sun-Ma Lee pressed her hand against the cold metal wall of the underwater research facility, feeling the subtle vibrations that had become familiar over 15 years of study. The massive structure before her stretched into the darkness of the Pacific depths, its true size still unknown despite years of mapping efforts. The facility's lights cast blue-tinted shadows across ancient walls that defied every analysis method known to modern science. Their smooth, seamless surface showed no signs of corrosion despite thousands of years underwater. Sun-Ma had dedicated her life to understanding these ruins, and now they were changing. The first alarm caught her by surprise. Then another joined it, and another, until the facility rang with warning tones. She grabbed her tablet, checking the sensor readings. Energy signatures were spiking throughout the structure, far beyond anything they'd recorded before. "Professor," Tai Wan-choi's voice crackled through her comm unit. Her research assistant's usual calm demeanor had given way to excitement. "You need to see this." Sun Li hurried through the facility's corridors, her footsteps echoing against metal floors. Other researchers pressed against observation windows, staring at the ancient walls outside. The previously dark surface of the ruins now pulsed with lines of soft blue light, tracing patterns they'd only seen hints of before. She found Taiwan in the main chamber, surrounded by holographic displays showing rapidly changing data. The young assistant pointed to the wall where they'd spent countless hours studying the mysterious glyphs. "The markings, they're moving." Sun-Ma watched in amazement as the ancient symbols shifted like liquid metal, flowing into new configurations. Years of careful study had yielded only theories about their meaning, but now they were rearranging themselves into perfectly clear Korean characters. "Recording everything," Taiwan said, his fingers flying over multiple screens. "Power readings are off the scale. Whatever this structure is, it's waking up." More symbols appeared, flowing across the walls like a digital waterfall. Sun-Ma read them aloud. "Defense protocol initiation. External threat detected. Awakening sequence engaged. Defense protocol." Taiwan looked up from his screens. "Professor, what exactly did we find down here?" Before she could answer, a new message formed on the wall. "Genetic verification required. Present authorization." Sun-Ma approached the wall slowly, her heart pounding. Years of research had led to this moment. "It's not just ruins," she said softly. "It's a defense system. Our ancestors left it here, waiting." The wall rippled, a section sliding away to reveal a scanning panel. Sunmai placed her palm against it without hesitation. Warm light pulsed beneath her hand, and she felt a slight tingling sensation. Genetic markers confirmed. New text appeared. Lineage recognized. Access granted to Facility Guardian Alpha. The chamber hummed with increasing power. Sections of wall that had appeared solid for 15 years began sliding apart, revealing rooms and corridors they had never detected. Holographic displays sprang to life, showing images that made Sunmi's breath catch, ships of impossible design, weapons that defied physics, technology that made humanity's greatest achievements look primitive. Professor, Taiwan's voice shook slightly. We're receiving a transmission from Earth Defense Command, the Galactic Council. They're demanding Earth's surrender. Sunmi touched one of the newly revealed consoles, watching as ancient systems responded to her presence. Now we know why this facility chose this moment to wake up. It was waiting for precisely this situation. More text flowed across the walls. Original directive: protect Earth and its children from external domination. All systems preparing for activation, waiting for final authorization. The Council never helped us study these ruins, Sunmai realized. They must have known what we find, known what our ancestors left us. A soft chime drew their attention to the center of the chamber. The floor opened, and a platform rose holding what appeared to be a command chair unlike anything they'd seen before. Its surface shifted like living metal, adaptable neural interfaces clearly visible. Professor, Taiwan studied his readings with wide eyes. There are more facilities activating. All across the ocean floor. This isn't just one installation. It's a network. Sunlight approached the command chair, understanding flowing through her mind. All those years studying the ruins, feeling like they were missing something obvious. The answers had been there all along, waiting for the right moment. Get me a direct line to Commander Park, she ordered. He needs to know what we found. Our ancestors didn't leave us defenseless. They left us everything we need. The ancient walls pulsed with increasing power, and Sunli felt the weight of generations watching her. Humanity had forgotten its true heritage, but that knowledge hadn't been lost. It had been preserved, protected, waiting for the moment when their descendants would need it most. The Council thinks they can simply take our world, she said, settling into the command chair. They're about to learn how wrong they are. The chair responded to her presence, interfaces connecting smoothly, as if designed specifically for her. In a way, she realized, it had been. Their ancestors had encoded their very genetic markers into these systems, ensuring only their children could access this power. Professor, Taiwan called out, more systems are coming online. The entire Pacific floor is lighting up with energy signatures. Whatever this is, it's big. Sunli smiled as ancient knowledge flowed into her mind through the chair's neural interface. No, Taiwan. It's not big. It's everything. Our ancestors left us the key to the stars themselves, and it's time we used it. The facility trembled with awakening power, and Sunmai began to understand just how much humanity had forgotten, and how much they were about to remember. The first rays of sunlight crept over Earth's horizon, painting the planet's defensive satellites in golden light. Commander Jeho Park stood motionless at his command post, watching the tactical displays as Council warships moved into attack formation. Modern sensors outlined their massive forms in red, marking them as hostile. They're powering up weapons, Captain Hannah reported, her voice steady despite the tension. Multiple energy signatures detected. They're not bothering to hide their intentions anymore. The first shots came without warning. Beams of concentrated energy sliced through Earth's orbital defense platforms like they were made of paper. Nuclear-powered satellites, the pride of human engineering, exploded in silent bursts of light. Status report, Jeho demanded, watching as decades of defensive preparation crumbled in minutes. Defense grid is failing. We've lost 30% of our orbital coverage. Ground-based defenses are responding, but their shields are too strong. Hannah's fingers flew over her console. Our ships are moving to engage. But another wave of destruction swept through Earth's defenses. The Council ships moved with practiced efficiency, targeting communication hubs and weapon platforms. They had clearly studied Earth's defenses in detail. Evacuation protocols for civilian centers are active, an officer reported. But we're losing our ability to coordinate responses. They're cutting us off section by section. Jai-Ho's hands tightened on the command rail. Any word from Dr. Lee? Still nothing since her last transmission about the facilities activating. All communications with the underwater research stations are being jammed. The command center shook as a nearby explosion rattled the building's foundations. Outside, Council ships had begun entering the atmosphere, their massive forms pushing through clouds like dark mountains. "Sir," Hannah called out suddenly. "Something's happening in the Pacific." The tactical displays shifted, showing massive energy readings erupting from the ocean depths. The water began to churn, massive whirlpools forming as if the sea itself was coming alive. "What are we looking at?" Jai-Ho demanded. Before anyone could answer, something enormous broke the surface. Water cascaded off crystalline structures that rose into the sky, their surfaces catching sunlight and breaking it into rainbow patterns. They were ships, but unlike anything humanity had ever built. Their designs seemed to ignore basic physics, geometric patterns flowing together in ways that should have been impossible. More rose from the depths, dozens of them, then hundreds. They moved with fluid grace, water streaming from their pristine hulls as they took to the air. Each one was easily the size of the largest Council vessel, but they moved like dancers. The Council ships paused their attack, clearly as surprised as the humans. Their formation shifted, weapons turning toward these new threats. Then a voice echoed through every communication device on Earth, speaking in perfect Korean, but carrying harmonics that suggested immense age and power. "I am Guardian Kome, custodian of Earth's ancestral fleet. The children of Earth require protection. Activating defense protocols." The crystalline ships moved with sudden purpose. Energy fields unlike anything in human science spread between them, forming complex geometric patterns. The Council's next attack wave splashed harmlessly against these barriers. "Analysis," Jai-Ho ordered, watching in amazement as the ancient ships took up defensive positions around Earth. "Sir, these ships, the energy readings don't make sense. They're operating on principles we don't understand, but they're responding to our recognition codes. They're registering as friendly." A holographic figure appeared in the command center, a woman in flowing robes that seemed to be made of light itself. "Commander Park," Guardian Kome's voice carried both warmth and steel. "Your ancestors prepared for this day. The Council's treachery was anticipated long ago." "Who? What are you?" Jai-Ho asked, watching as the crystalline ships engaged the Council fleet with devastating efficiency. "I am the guardian your ancestors created to watch over their legacy. When they realized the Council would never allow humanity to reach its full potential, they prepared this gift for you. A fleet of ships built with technology the Council thought they had destroyed. Outside, the battle had turned decisively. The Council ships found their advanced weapons useless against defenses built by a civilization that had mastered physics they had forgotten. Their formations broke as they tried to retreat. They thought they had erased our true history," Kome continued, "forced humanity to start over from primitive beginnings. But your ancestors were smarter than that. They hid their legacy in the only place the Council wouldn't think to look, deep beneath Earth's oceans." "Sir," Hannah reported with awe in her voice, "the Council fleet is retreating. Their ships are jumping to faster than light travel. We've won." Jai-Ho watched as the crystalline ships moved with precise coordination, securing Earth's orbital space. "Not won," he corrected. "We've just started. Guardian Kome, I assume you have more to tell us about who we really are." A holographic figure smiled. "Commander, you have no idea how long I've waited to answer that question. Your ancestors built an empire that spanned galaxies. It's time for their children to reclaim that heritage. The ancient ships continued their patrol as dawn broke over a changed Earth. Humanity had awakened to find they weren't the primitives the Council had tried to make them believe they were. They were the heirs to something far greater. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, the underwater command center hummed with ancient power. Dr. Sun Ma Li watched in amazement as dormant systems awakened around them, revealing technology that redefined everything humanity thought they knew about their past. Commander Jae-ho Park and Captain Hannah Kim had arrived via a transport system that seemed to bend space itself, stepping out of a glowing portal as if they had simply walked through a doorway from their surface facility. Taiwan Choi worked nearby, recording everything as centuries-old interfaces sprang to life. Komei's holographic form stood in the center of the chamber, her presence filling the space with soft light. The ancient guardian's appearance shifted subtly, her robes flowing with patterns that mirrored the facility's active systems. "Show me again," Sun Mai requested, gesturing to the star map that filled one wall. "Our ancestors' empire. How far did it reach?" The map expanded, showing thousands of stars. Points of light connected them in complex patterns, marking ancient trade routes and colony worlds. "Your ancestors' civilization spanned 3 spiral arms of the galaxy," Komei explained. "They had achieved what your scientists today only dream of, the perfect fusion of organic and mechanical technology." Taiwan moved closer to one of the living walls, watching as it responded to his presence. "The walls, they're not just metal, are they?" "No," Komei smiled. "Everything you see here is alive in its own way. Your ancestors learned to grow their technology, to create systems that could evolve and adapt. The ships defending Earth now are not merely vessels. They are living beings, born from the marriage of biology and engineering." Commander Jae-ho studied tactical displays showing the ancient fleet in orbit. But why did they hide all this? Why let humanity start over from the beginning? Komei's expression grew serious. "The Council you know today is not what it once was. In the time of your ancestors, humanity led a coalition of species dedicated to exploration and growth. But others feared our advancement. They believed our mastery of living technology would lead to their own extinction." The Guardian waved her hand, and new images filled the air, scenes of an ancient war. Ships similar to those now protecting Earth battled against massive fleets. The Council species of that time launched a preemptive strike. They meant to destroy humanity entirely. But they failed, Hannah observed, watching the historical record play out. "Not exactly," Komei corrected. "Your ancestors could have won the war, but the cost would have been the extinction of multiple species. They chose a different path. They created facilities like this one across Earth, seeded their technology on distant worlds, and then enacted the Great Sleep." Sun Ma's eyes widened in understanding. "They made themselves forget. Started civilization over from the beginning. Yes, they encoded their knowledge and power into guardians like myself, programmed to wait until humanity faced extinction again. The Council thought they had won, never realizing that your ancestors chose to hide their power rather than use it for destruction." Taiwan looked up from his readings. "The ships in orbit, you said they're alive. How do they work?" Komei gestured, and a detailed schematic appeared. Each vessel contains a core of living crystal, grown from engineered organisms. They think, they learn, they evolve. Your ancestors discovered that the most powerful technology was that which could improve itself. "And now," Jae-ho asked, "what happens now that we've awakened this power?" "That depends on you," Komei replied. "The Council's attack has activated the defense protocols, but your ancestors left the choice of what follows to their children. You can reclaim your full heritage, or simply use this power to protect Earth. The decision must be yours." Sun Ma reached out to touch one of the living walls, feeling it pulse beneath her fingers. All these years studying these ruins, trying to understand their purpose. We never imagined. Your ancestors believed that wisdom must be earned, Komei said softly. They could have left messages explaining everything, but they wanted their children to prove themselves ready for this knowledge. Hannah studied the tactical displays. The Council ships are regrouping at the edge of the solar system. They'll be back, won't they? Yes. But this time, you face them not as a primitive species, but as the heirs to an empire that once spanned the stars. Coma's form shifted, showing hints of the power at her command. Your ancestors left you everything you need, not just to defend yourselves, but to rebuild what was lost. Commander Jiho straightened, decision clear in his eyes. Then we have work to do. We need to understand this technology, learn how to use it properly. Indeed, Komai agreed. The living ships await their pilots. The ancient facilities stand ready to share their knowledge. Your ancestors' legacy is now yours to claim. The underwater command center continued to awaken around them, systems dormant for millennia returning to life. Humanity stood at a crossroads, rediscovering that they were not the primitive species the Council had tried to make them believe, but the children of pioneers who had once touched the stars themselves. What they would do with that knowledge remained to be seen. But as Sunmai watched the ancient systems come alive, she knew one thing was certain. Humanity's future would never be the same. Commander Jiho settled into the ancestral captain's chair, feeling the living metal adapt to his form. The neural interface activated, connecting his mind directly to the ancient vessel. Knowledge flowed through him, not just data, but generations of experience encoded into the ship's living core. Through the ship's enhanced sensors, he watched the Council fleet approach. They had gathered reinforcements, bringing thousands of vessels to crush Earth's defiance. Their formation spread across space like a steel wall, energy weapons charging. All ships report ready. Captain Hannah's voice came through crystal clear. She coordinated from the underwater command center, working directly with Komei to manage the fleet's movements. The Council fleet will enter weapons range in 3 minutes. Jiho felt his ship's consciousness merge with his own. The vessel was alive, eager to fulfill its purpose after millennia of waiting. Through their shared awareness, he sensed the other ships of the ancient fleet, each one a masterpiece of living technology. Remember, Komei's voice echoed through the fleet's communication network. These ships are not tools. They are partners. Work with them, not against them. The Council fleet opened fire first. Energy beams powerful enough to crack planets lanced toward Earth. But the ancient ships moved with impossible grace, their living crystals pulsing with power. Space itself seemed to bend around them, the attacks passing through empty void where ships had been moments before. Jiho felt his ship's eagerness to respond. He gave it permission, and reality rippled. The weapon systems the ship commanded didn't fire energy or projectiles. They manipulated the fabric of space-time itself. Sections of the Council fleet found themselves twisted into new configurations, their carefully planned formation shattered. Multiple Council ships disabled, Hannah reported. Their technology can't compensate for spatial distortions. They've never seen anything like this. More ancient ships joined the battle, moving in patterns that seemed to defy physics. They flowed around enemy fire like water, their organic technology adapting instantly to new threats. The Council's superior numbers meant nothing against ships that could predict and counter their every move. Through his neural link, Jiho sensed something else. The ancient ships were learning, evolving their tactics in real time. Each engagement made them more effective, their living cores processing combat data and sharing improvements across the fleet. Council command ship detected, Hannah announced. They're trying to coordinate a retreat, but our spatial distortions are preventing faster-than-light jumps. Jiho guided his ship through a complex maneuver, passing through spaces that shouldn't have existed. The Council vessels fired desperately, their weapons useless against technology that had been perfected when their species were still learning to build fires. "Show them what we can do," he commanded, feeling his ship's eager response. The living crystal at its heart pulsed with power, and reality buckled. A dozen council ships found themselves tangled in a knot of twisted space, their hulls groaning as fundamental forces pulled them in impossible directions. Coma's presence touched the fleet's shared awareness. They begin to understand what they face. The council thought they had erased our power from history. Now they remember why their ancestors feared us. More council ships fell to the ancient fleet's attacks. Some were torn apart by spatial distortions. Others found their systems frozen in time-locked bubbles. Still others simply vanished, transported to empty regions of space far from the battle. Enemy fleet is breaking formation, Hana reported with satisfaction. They're attempting to retreat in all directions. Jai-Ho felt his ship's desire to pursue, to eliminate the threat completely. But he remembered Coma's words about his ancestors' choice. They had hidden their power rather than use it for extinction. Let them run, he commanded, but make sure they remember this lesson. The ancient fleet moved in perfect synchronization, their living cores singing with power. Space rippled one final time, and the retreating council ships found themselves pushed out of the solar system by waves of distorted reality. As the battle ended, Jai-Ho maintained his connection to the ship. Through its senses, he could feel Earth below, the hidden network of ancient facilities still waiting to share their secrets. The Council had thought humanity was a primitive species to be conquered. Instead, they had awakened something far more powerful, the children of those who had once mastered the very fabric of space and time. All enemy ships have left the system, Hana confirmed. No casualties on our side. The ancient fleet, they're not even damaged. Of course not. Coma's voice held pride. These ships were built to defend Earth against the greatest threats in the galaxy. A few council vessels are hardly a challenge for them. Jai-Ho felt his ship's satisfaction through their shared link. The vessel had waited millennia for this moment, preserved by technology that blended the best of organic life and engineered perfection. Now it had proven its worth, protecting the descendants of its creators. "Take us home," he said softly, feeling the ship's eager response. As they turned toward Earth, he knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had reclaimed a small part of their ancestors' legacy. What they would do with that power, whether they would use it wisely or repeat the mistakes of the past, remained to be seen. But for now, Earth was safe. The Council had learned a harsh lesson about underestimating those they thought primitive. And in orbit above their world, the ancient fleet stood guard, living ships waiting to defend their creators' children once again. Through the ancient facility's quantum networks, streams of data flowed like rivers of light. Dr. Sun Mei Li watched as centuries of hidden council records unfolded before her eyes. The living computers their ancestors had created sifted through the archives, translating alien languages and decoding encrypted files with ease. Taiwan worked beside her, his eyes wide as the truth of humanity's past emerged. "Look at these dates," he said, pointing to a timeline that stretched back far beyond recorded history. "Our civilization wasn't primitive. We were among the first." The records painted a clear picture. Humanity had not evolved slowly from primitive beginnings. They had been pioneers, one of the first species to master faster-than-light travel. Their understanding of living technology and quantum engineering had made them leaders of an ancient alliance that predated the current Galactic Council. "Here," Sun Mai called out, highlighting a section of text. "The Council species we know today. They were primitive worlds when our ancestors first reached the stars. We helped them, taught them, shared our technology." Commander Jai-Ho and Captain Hana joined them in the archive chamber, fresh from their victory over the Council fleet. The neural interfaces they had used to control the ancient ships left traces of light dancing across their skin. "But they feared us," Hana observed, reading through the records. "They saw how quickly we advanced, how easily we mastered new concepts. They were afraid we would leave them behind." Comey's holographic form appeared among them, her presence adding context to the archive data. "The Council species of that time could not understand your ancestors' greatest achievement, the fusion of organic and mechanical systems. They saw only the potential for their own obsolescence. More records emerged from the quantum networks. Sunlight watched scenes from the past play out. Great cities that stretched into the clouds, ships that grew like living things, humanity reaching out to guide younger species toward the stars. The attack was carefully planned. Jai-Ho read from a classified council document. They gathered their forces in secret, waited until our defenses were lowered. They meant to destroy us completely. But they failed, Taiwan pointed out. Our ancestors survived. They did more than survive, Komei corrected. They made a choice that the council never understood. When faced with the possibility of winning the war through genocide, your ancestors chose a different path. The records showed the final days of the ancient conflict. Humanity's living ships could have easily destroyed their attackers. Instead, they enacted a plan centuries in the making. Hidden facilities were activated. Knowledge was preserved in encrypted quantum archives. And then, most incredibly, they chose to forget. The Great Sleep, Sunmai whispered. They wiped their own memories, started civilization over from the beginning. But why? Because they understood something the council did not, Komei explained. True advancement comes not from the technology we possess, but from how we choose to use it. They left their knowledge hidden, waiting for their children to prove themselves worthy of it. More data flowed through the quantum networks. The council's own records revealed their guilt, their fear, their determination to keep humanity from remembering its true heritage. Every time Earth's civilization began to advance too quickly, they had interfered. All those stories of ancient advanced civilizations, Heine realized. The myths and legends about lost knowledge. They were echoes of the truth. The council thought they had won, Jai-Ho said, his voice hard. They spent thousands of years watching us, making sure we didn't remember who we really were, all while using the very technology our ancestors had given them. Sun-Mi touched one of the living walls, feeling its response to her presence. But our ancestors were smarter than they knew. They didn't just hide their technology. They encoded it into our very DNA. The ability to understand and use these systems is part of who we are. The quantum archives continued to reveal their secrets. The Council's greatest fear was confirmed. Humanity had not lost their potential during the Great Sleep. The ability to master living technology, to understand quantum engineering at an intuitive level, had been preserved in their genetic code. That's why the Council demanded our surrender. Taiwan understood. They detected our facilities awakening. They knew we were close to remembering. And now we know everything, Hannah said. The question is, what do we do with this knowledge? Komei's form shifted, showing images of the ancient alliance humanity had once led. Your ancestors left that choice to you. You can rebuild what was lost, guide the younger species as they once did, or you can choose a different path. Sun-Mi looked at the others, seeing the weight of this revelation in their eyes. They were not the primitive species the Council had tried to make them believe. They were the children of those who had touched the stars first, who had chosen preservation over destruction. The living walls of the facility pulsed with power, ready to share more of their ancestors' legacy. The truth had emerged at last. Now humanity had to decide how to move forward with this knowledge, how to reclaim their heritage without repeating the mistakes of the past. The remains of the Council fleet hung like distant stars beyond Neptune's orbit, their once proud ships humbled by technology they had feared for millennia. Commander Jai-Ho stood aboard the ancient command ship, its living crystal heart pulsing in harmony with his thoughts through the neural interface. Dr. Sun-Mi Lee worked at a console nearby, the quantum systems responding to her touch as if they had always known her. Together, they prepared humanity's response to the Council's aggression, not with threats of destruction, but with an offer of peace backed by undeniable strength. Transmission ready, Captain Hannah reported from her station. All channels open to the Council fleet. Jai-Ho nodded, feeling his ship's anticipation through their shared link. This is Commander Jai-Ho Park of Earth. You came to our world demanding surrender. Instead, You awakened something you thought long buried. Now you will listen." The ancient ship projected his words across space, translating them into every council language. Through its sensors, Jai-Ho could detect the fear and confusion radiating from the enemy vessels. "We know the truth of our past," he continued. "We know what your ancestors did to ours. The evidence is clear in your own archives. But we also understand why they feared us. Today, we offer you a choice." Sunma stepped forward, adding her voice to the transmission. "Humanity accepts the Council's unconditional recognition of Earth's sovereignty. We demand reparations for thousands of years of interference in our development. But we also offer you something your ancestors never expected: a chance to move forward together." In the command center below, Comley's holographic form expanded, showing scenes from humanity's ancient history. "Your ancestors chose this path," she reminded them. "They could have destroyed their attackers. Instead, they preserved their knowledge and waited for the right moment. Not for revenge, but for understanding." The Council ships remained silent, their crews likely struggling to accept this shift in the galaxy's power balance. The ancient fleet held position, their living technology humming with contained power. "We reclaim our heritage," Jai-Ho declared, "but we honor our ancestors' wisdom. They knew that true strength lies not in destruction, but in creation. The choice is yours: continue as adversaries, or join us in building something greater." Hours passed as the Council leaders debated. Finally, a response came. Their surrender was unconditional. Earth's terms were accepted. The ancient crime would be acknowledged, reparations would be paid, and a new chapter in galactic history would begin. As the Council fleet retreated to carry news of these events to their worlds, Komei gathered Earth's representatives in the underwater command center. The facility's living walls pulsed with anticipation. "Your ancestors left you one final gift," she announced. The quantum archives activated, displaying an endless stream of knowledge. Everything they knew, everything they created. It's all here, waiting for you to reclaim it. Taiwan watched in amazement as technical specifications for impossible technologies appeared before them. "This will change everything," he breathed. "That's what they intended," Komai said softly. "They didn't hide this knowledge to protect it from the Council. They hid it to protect it for you, to ensure that when you rediscovered it, you would understand its true value." The ancient fleet settled into orbit around Earth, their crystalline forms catching sunlight. They were no longer just weapons of war, but bridges to humanity's true heritage. Through them, Earth would rejoin the galactic community not as a primitive world seeking acceptance, but as the returned children of pioneers. Jai-Ho stood at a viewport, watching his homeworld shine below. The neural interface still connected him to his ship, letting him feel its contentment. They had defended their home, reclaimed their past, and opened the door to a future their ancestors had dreamed of. "What now?" Hannah asked, joining him at the viewport. "Now we build," he replied. "The Council feared us because they didn't understand our greatest strength. Our ancestors didn't just master living technology. They learned to grow with it, to evolve alongside their creations. That's the heritage they left us." Sunma worked with the quantum archives, already beginning to understand systems that should have taken years to master. "They encoded it all into us," she realized. "Every human carries the potential to understand this technology. We just needed to remember." Out among the stars, changes were already beginning. News of Earth's awakening spread across Council space. The children of humanity's ancient civilization had returned, bringing with them knowledge that had been hidden for millennia. But this time would be different. Earth would not seek to dominate or control. The ancient fleet would stand guard not for war, but for peace. Humanity would forge a new path, honoring their ancestors' wisdom while building their own future. As the first dawn of this new era broke over Earth, Jai-Ho felt his ship's quiet satisfaction. They were no longer lost children finding their way in a hostile galaxy. They were the heirs of pioneers, returned to light the way forward once again. The human looked up at the stars, seeing them with new eyes. The future lay before them, bright with possibility. And this time, they would get it right.